Hello, friends. I'm not at school today, and I'm still going to tell you what happened this weekend because it's the reason I'm not at school. Sunday, we got a ton of rain, and my basement flooded. So I've been dealing with that for a little bit, and it's going to take me into today to kind of continue fixing that up. The joys of homeownership. So I'll be back tomorrow with some Bow Tie Tuesday, but for today, I do need to get through some perpendicularity and right angle notes with you guys. So let's get going and see how this works. So lines, rays, or segments that intersect at what we call right angles, as you guys know, are 90 degrees. We give it a really fancy word that we are going to talk about today is called perpendicular. Honestly, in math class, we don't like to write as much words, so you will see this symbol all the time. It looks like an upside down T. That does mean perpendicular. So we have these little if-then statements down here below. If two lines, rays, or segments, basically anything that is straight, if these segments are perpendicular or claim that they are perpendicular, then congratulations, you know for a fact that you have a right angle. Right angles are 90 degrees. That's kind of what perpendicular implies. The vice versa is also true. If you have these two straight segments, lines, rays, whatever the heck you want to call them, and they intersect at a right angle, well, guess what? You know for a fact that they are indeed perpendicular. So it's like a two-way street there. If it's a right angle, it's perpendicular. If it's perpendicular, it's a right angle. So theorems that we have here, if any two angles are right angles, then we can say that they're congruent. Sounds really simple and stupid, but it's actually something that we need to use to prove things in mathematics. What they're saying is if I have this angle right here that we can label as angle number 1, and I have this other angle somewhere else out in space, like this one, there's also a right angle, and I name this angle number 2. Then what do you know? We could say angle 1 must be congruent to angle 2 for the sake that, hey, two right angles, no matter where they are in the world, must be congruent because they must both be 90 degrees. And that's the definition of congruent, is having the same angle measurement. But check this out. This is where things can get a little confusing for you. Practice number 1 says given EH is perpendicular to GH or HG. Be careful what we're talking about. EH is perpendicular to HG, which means that in this little thing, I can mark, ooh, that is a bad color. I can mark that these angles right here are perpendicular. And it now says, name all the angles you can prove to be right angles. Guess what? That perpendicular means that, yep, that angle right there that I've basically outlined for you guys is a right angle. Angle EHG, or if you named it the other direction, GHE, those ones are indeed right angles. But you know which ones students tend to look at and think are right angles? Are these two right here. They think this one is a right angle, and they think this one is a right angle. And unfortunately, those are not right angles. The reason we say that is because they were not proven. We are not stated to say that they're 90 degrees. We did not get anything saying that HF and EG are perpendicular. None of that was stated, given to us, or found to be conclusive at all. So we can't assume things. It's usually one of the worst things that happens in geometry. It might look 90 degrees, but we don't know if it's 89.9, 90.1, all that fun jazz. Let's bring us to the next problem that we got here. Given that AB is perpendicular to BC, so if I outline the two things that we're looking at, AB is perpendicular to BC, I'm going to go ahead and put in that right angle right there. Basically, they're telling us, hey, that thing's going to measure 90 degrees for us. And now we see the fun stuff. This 4 times larger. Guys, remember when I said this, that this is all just a ratio problem? Where if it's 4 times larger, it means it's a 4-to-1 ratio. And whenever we use that word ratio, we should include x's in these numbers. And so the first angle that they gave us right here is ABD. If I'm looking at angle ABD, this one is just labeled as 4, whereas DBC is labeled as 1. And since it's a ratio problem, we are going to introduce the x's to these to help us out. So the way we solve this, kind of like the last quiz that we took, the unit topic of the year, of the whole entire unit, small plus small, so 4x plus 1x should give me the grand total of the larger angle, which if it's perpendicular, we know is going to be 90 degrees. Add those together, 5x equals 90. Divide, multiply, whatever you have to do. X is 18, but be careful. The question we are having here is asking, what is the measure of ABD? ABD is going to be this one right here. So we need to find out what 4 times that angle is. I would always ask that you guys write out the measure of angle ABD, or ABD equals 4 times 18, which if I do my math correct, I believe is 72 degrees. So just be careful again that you're not just stopping once you find that X value. Next up, practice number 3. I've got angles here. I've got one angle that is 43.79 degrees. I have another angle 2, which is 47.21 degrees. And ladies and gentlemen, what they are asking us to do is AB perpendicular to BC? Well, guess what? That would mean that these two angles added together must be 90 degrees. So the question I have is, what is 43.79 plus 47.21? What is that? Tell you what, it's 91 degrees. So unfortunately, this is not going to be perpendicular just because of the fact that this does not equal 90 degrees. So the simple answer to that is you could just do something like not perpendicular. And guys, the last question, this was a really short lesson for you, which was kind of nice. But this last one's a slight doozy for you. Not really, but we're talking about more ratio problems if you look at this. So when I say that, I've got this 3 to 2 to 1 ratio. So that means we're probably going to have to introduce some x's at some point in time. So let's go ahead and label those accordingly. 1, 2, and 3 are going to be the 3, 2, and 1 ratio. So they're all written in that same exact order, which means you have a 3, you have a 2, you have a 1. Since it's a ratio problem, we will always introduce those x's as well. And then the last one, they just give up a number right away. They say, yo, that angle 4, that's just 66 degrees for us. Cool. Well, guys, once again, all these small pieces are adding up to this straight line. So if I have this angle plus this angle plus this angle plus this angle, I should get a grand total of 180. Let's add them together and do that then really quickly. If I take the first angle and the second angle and the third angle and the fourth angle and I add them all up, I should get 180. Let's combine those x's together. 3 plus 2 plus 1 should give me 6x. I would subtract my 66 from both sides, so I get 6x equals 114. We would divide by 6. My x value is a grand total of 19. But again, they are asking this simple question of, hey, can you go ahead and determine if those two things are perpendicular? And then we'll also have to find angle number 2 for us as well. Well, guys, the first thing that it looks like for perpendicularity is I'm going to focus on one set of angles right away. If those two are perpendicular, this must add up to 90 degrees. I have one that's 66 already. And the question is, if I add in a single x value, will I get 90 degrees? So the question is, what is 66 plus one of my x values, which I know is 19? Well, if I was going to look at that math, I don't think we're anywhere close to 90, unfortunately, because this should give me a grand total of, I believe, 85 degrees. So we are not, once again, perpendicular. So we can go ahead and label that as not perpendicular. They also did want me, though, to figure out what angle number 2 was. I'm going to have to plug this into the 2x value that we have here. And again, you can do something like angle number 2 is actually just going to be 2 times my x value, which we have as 19, which I believe is a grand total of 38 degrees for you guys. Awesome work. You guys have one single worksheet to do for me for today. And then once you guys finish that, catch up as much as you need to. I will see you guys tomorrow for Bow Tie Tuesday, hopefully. Have yourselves a wonderful rest of your day, guys.